Algebra 2 Cram, New York State Algebra 2 Regents, Common Core, Key Facts, Trigonometric Identities, Formulas, and Equations. Question 10, the sine of theta over 2, or this can be expressed as the sine of 1/2 theta. Okay? In order to inquire about this entire cram session, email me at memedicine@gmail.com for pricing, and also inquire about other subject sessions. All right, let's delve in. Review question 10. If cosine theta equals 1/8 and theta is an acute angle, then the value of the sine of theta over 2 is 1, 3/2, 2, radical 7/4, C, or 3, I'm so used to saying A, B, C, D, sorry, 9/16, or 4, 3/4. I'll give you a moment to strategize and come up with a solution. Definitely press pause. All right, so hopefully by now you've come up with an answer. If not, that's totally fine. The general formula for the sine of theta over 2, or this can also be expressed as the sine of 1/2 theta, is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of theta over 2. Okay? And the only value that you need to know in order to plug in and solve for the sine of 1/2 theta, or theta over 2, is the cosine theta. And we're told that in this particular instance in the question stem. So we're told that the cosine of theta is 1/8. Okay? So we're going to plug that in and see what happens. So the sine of theta over 2 is equivalent to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 1/8 divided by 2. This simplifies to yield 7/8 over 2. And the reason why we end up with 7/8 in the numerator is because 1 can be considered 8/8. So if 8 minus 1 in the numerator is going to yield 7. That's why we get 7/8, all divided by 2. Again, this can be further simplified to yield plus or minus the square root of 7/16. And the reason why the denominator simplifies to 16 is because dividing 7/8 by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by the inverse of 2. So 7/16 divided by 2 is the same thing as saying 7/16 times 1/2. Okay? And so when you multiply 2 times 8 in the denominator, you're going to end with a 16. This can be further simplified again to yield plus or minus the square root, or radical 7/4. 4 simplify, the 16 in the denominator simplifies conveniently to 4 because it's a perfect square. Okay? All right, so let's continue because we need to now decide which sign we're going to keep. Is it positive or negative? I think you know the answer by now, but just bear with me just in case this isn't a multiple choice situation, okay? Since we're told in the question stem that theta is an acute angle, it makes so much sense to assume that theta over 2 is also going to be acute, okay? Acute angles occur in quadrant 1. They're bound by 0 degrees up until 90 degrees. So if you have an angle that's less than 90 degrees, that's going to be an acute angle. And if you further divide an acute angle by any number greater than 0, that is. Well, I mean greater than greater, that's not a decimal. you're going to end up with something that's also acute. Okay, so what we're looking for is to decide which sign we're going to keep. Is it going to be the positive or negative? And so since we're dealing with the sine of some particular angle, the sine is represented by y over the r, the hypotenuse, or the ray that is made with the origin to form the angle. So in quadrant 1, we see that the y values are always going to be positive because it's not below the x-axis, which is negative. And the measurement of the ray will always be positive as well, or the measurement of the hypotenuse will always be positive regardless of which quadrants it's in, because we're doing a measurement, which can't be negative. It has to be in existence. So therefore, we're going to keep the positive sign and ignore the negative. So the answer is going to be positive radical 7 over 4, which is answer choice 2. The correct choice is answer choice 2. I know this was a little wordy, but just watch it again for more clarity, okay? Now, the good thing is that this can also be solved very easily and accurately with your calculator if you consider all the information given. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so as I said before, you can solve this with your handy-dandy graphing calculator. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to ensure that you're in degree mode, okay? And you can do this by first pressing mode, then the down arrow once, and that will take you from the blinking cursor being over normal to float. And then you're going to press the down arrow one more time, okay? And that will bring the blinking cursor over radians. So let's just assume you're in radians. What you'll have to now do is press the right arrow and the blinking cursor will end up over degrees, okay? All right. And so now you don't have to press enter. It's going to be in degree mode. All you have to do is press second mode to quit this screen, okay? And now what you're going to do is input the inverse cosine function to figure out the value of theta. So in order to do this, you're basically going to press second cosine to get the inverse cosine function. Then you're going to press 1 divided by 8 because that's our given cosine. But the inverse functions find out the angle that the trigonometric function belongs to. Okay, so then you're going to close this parentheses by pressing the close parentheses button and enter. And that's going to yield the answer for theta, okay, which is 82.81924422. Okay, so it's approximately 83 degrees, and this is correct because it is an acute angle. All right. Well, you know, when you evaluate these trigonometric functions in your graphing calculator, they're actually always going to yield the acute reference angle. It's up to you to manipulate and add or subtract 180 degrees to make the angle correct, depending on the situation, okay? But you can further see what I'm talking about in other problems. Just take a look at problem 11 to get a better understanding of this, okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is basically input the sine of theta over 2, and we do that by typing sine of the previous answer, theta, we have here, so there's no need to rewrite it. And in order to recall that answer, all you have to do is type second negative sign, which is going to recall the answer, okay? And then you're going to divide it by 2, so you press divide by 2, and you close the parentheses, and then press enter. Okay, so the sine of 1/2 theta, which is approximately, I don't know, like 41 point something, or is going to be 0.66, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and your graphing calculator does have a math feature where you can convert answers into fractions, but because we have a radical in the numerator, the calculator isn't that advanced to do it just yet. So basically what you'll have to do is plug and chug the given answer choices until you can match them with 0.66 blah blah blah. Okay, and so you find out that when you input answer choice 2, the square root of 7 divided by 4, and you go ahead and hit enter. So you're going to basically get the correct answer choice. Okay, so you can input this by pressing second x squared to get the square root. Okay, 7. Then press the right arrow to escape from under the radical sign. You close the parentheses, and then you divide by 4. Okay, and then you hit enter. And then you're going to get a matching answer, and so you find out that the correct answer choice again is answer choice 2. All right, okay.